Welcome to the Blogger Genius Podcast, brought to you by MiloTree. Here's your host, Jillian Leslie.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. So in celebration of 2020, I'm excited to announce that we are rolling out a new service. It is called MiloTree BlogStart. Now, a lot of people who listen to the podcast haven't yet started a blog. It's complicated. It's hard. So we're here to help. So in our service, what we will do is in 2 days, we will set you up with a blog. We will help you register a domain name and get you hosting and make sure it's secure and make sure it's optimized. And then you can come to us with any questions that you have. So you've got support. So if you are interested in this, because I do say, go do this, go start your business, head to milotree.com/blogstart and you can read all about it. Now, for today's episode, I am interviewing Luisa Zhou, and I think you're going to really like this episode because Louisa has built a 7-figure business by creating a course to help people quit their 9-to-5 jobs. Now you go, oh, wow, how did she do this? Well, she did it with a lot of failure, and we talk about that, and we talk about how it took her a really long time to figure out what she was going to offer and the stumbles along the way. And then what she does is she breaks down how she went about building this business. And what I love about it is at the beginning, it was all down and dirty. She did not spend a lot of time making things pretty. She got in front of her customers and figured out exactly how to serve them. So without further ado, here is my interview with Luisa Zhou. Luisa, welcome to the show. I'm super psyched for you to be here.
Thank you so much for having me here.
So the cool thing about what you did was you left your 9-to-5 and then you created a business and then you started teaching other people how to leave their 9-to-5s and start businesses.
Yes, I mean, it's always been following basically what people are asking me, which is really cool because I think we have this, or I know I had this misconception that to build a business, you needed a crazy idea. But one of my first online businesses, I just went into Facebook groups. People were asking me about ads, which was what I did at the time in my job. And I said, hey, I can help you with that.
Let's back up. So you were working at a 9-to-5 job. And what was that job?
Digital advertising.
Ooh, okay. So then you said, hey, I know I'm doing this for somebody else. I could go help other people build digital ad campaigns.
Exactly.
Okay. And so
that was it. It wasn't like a new idea or anything.
Okay. And so you started collecting clients.
Mm-hmm.
And then what?
Yeah. So I just kept on keeping to the basics, doing what worked. I was working with a handful of clients. I was charging about $5,000 for 6 months to work with me. And the way I came up with that price was just figuring out, all right, how many hours do I think I'm going to work with a client? And what is my hourly salary rate? All right, I'll just charge that starting out.
And wait, what was your hourly salary rate when you started? What did you put it at?
I don't remember the exact number, to be honest. I think it was maybe around 50 or 60, I believe.
Okay. And so these early clients had to take a leap of faith, right? Because you didn't have testimonials or anything like that. So were these... How did you find these clients?
Yes, exactly. So here's the thing. It was a leap of faith, but in some ways it also wasn't. Because what happened was, I was talking a second ago about just not looking for a business idea and basically just being like, what problems can I solve that other people are willing to pay for? And so when I started the digital advertising consulting business, I wasn't thinking, okay, I'm just going to do this. I know this is going to be a business. All I was thinking was, what can I possibly have to offer? And so I went into Facebook groups, started hanging out there. I saw people ask questions about ads, and I reached out to one woman who was asking, and I said to her, hey, this is what I do in my job. My employer is a really big tech firm. I manage this. My clients are like BMW, Mercedes. I know what I'm talking about. And all I would love to ask you for is a few minutes of your time to do some market research. If in return you And in return, I will answer all of your questions about ads. And so we did that, had a really great call. And then afterwards, she sent me follow-up emails asking me more questions. And again, at this time, I wasn't trying to sell anything. And so I wasn't getting in my head about, oh, I need to try and make this a client. I just thought, oh, amazing. Someone actually cares about what I have to say. I thought it was boring stuff that nobody would care about. And so basically, after about 2 weeks of my answering her questions, she actually emailed me one day and said, hey, you've given me so much value for free. I would love to hire you. And I actually had to say to her, hey, hold on, give me a week to figure out what I can sell, what would be a fair price to both of us, and let's talk in a week. And so we did. And even though I just completely botched up the sales conversation because I didn't know how to do it, because I had basically just given her so much help already for free in those 2 weeks, she came onto the call prepared to say yes.
That is great. And what I love about that is that you were able, even before she hired you, one, that was not your intention, but that you were trying to do market research, as you say, and really see what are people's needs. So you were getting, even though you were giving, you were also getting in the process because you were learning.
So much. I mean, yeah, that information that I learned, to be honest, was priceless.
Absolutely. I say this all the time, which is even though we live in this digital world, if you can get on the phone with somebody and pick their brain and see what they're struggling with, and not only that, but listen to the words that they're using. Mm-hmm. Because if you can mirror that back to them, they feel heard and seen and are therefore more apt to hire you. I always say this if you want to work with brands and you're kind of going back and forth with email, to say, hey, could we get on a call? Because I have been able to close so many opportunities just by talking about it.
Yes.
That there's a real human being on the other end.
Exactly. I mean, everyone nowadays is so much about automation and scaling, and absolutely all of that is great, but nothing replaces the human to human interaction.
Absolutely. Like, I feel like we talked for maybe 10 minutes before we got on, I pressed record, and I feel like we are fast friends.
I agree. That's why, I mean, normally on podcasts, I'm like, oh, okay, let's get into the feel of it. But I just started talking right off the bat and I was like, wait, whoa, what's going on? It's just because we had that conversation and I feel really awesome.
And it wasn't anything about work,
No,
it was just a personal touch. So it was about Mandarin.
Yes, that's right.
So I agree. It just is amazing how you can learn and how you can connect. And I think that is something that I am continuing to recognize is the value of connection, especially in the world today.
Yes.
So, okay. So
Always.
let's fast forward. Okay. So you get her as your first client and you don't even know how much to charge, but there's something kind of sweet about that, like, hey, we'll figure this out. And then you started getting other clients, I take it.
I did. So here's the thing. What I see a lot nowadays is it's like, okay, I got one client, how do I go on and start scaling and doing all of these crazy things to get to 6 or multiple 6 figures or 7 or whatever. And for me, thankfully, I didn't let that get into my head. I mean, it didn't even occur to me to think that. And I'm grateful because I just said, okay, this worked, right? Talking to people in a Facebook group worked. Let me do more of it. So I just literally made it my daily to-do while I was working on my business on the side. I marked on my calendar. I was like, okay, I'm going to do, and this is really tactical, my 3x15 rule. I would mark 3 spaces of 15 minutes on my calendar. So maybe in the morning before I went off to work at around like 8 a.m., maybe during lunch, during my lunch break, and then maybe in the evening around 7 or 8 whenever I got home. 15 minutes. During those 15 minutes, all I would do, I would go into a Facebook group. Maybe I would share some value like, oh, hey, here's a great tip for running great ads. Or I would just look up people's questions about ads and answer them. And that's all I would do during that time.
Now, how long did you do this for?
I did this consistently. I literally marked it on my calendar every day during the week for at least about 1.5 to 2 months at least. After that, I was still consistent. Maybe I wasn't like doing it 3 times every single day, but in the beginning, I mean, it wasn't like I had that much else to do, right? That was going to help me build my business anyways.
So when you were doing this, were you looking for clients? Were you looking to hear what people were talking about? What were you looking for?
Both.
Okay.
So both. Like, in the beginning, it was just to, okay, confirm if this was even something people cared about. After I got that first client, I was still thinking, okay, let me just share content. Let me see what connects with people, which tips people care about. Let me work on my own ability to write in a way that interests people. And so that was my primary focus. In the back of my mind, though, I was like, oh, I got this client. You know what? I bet this is going to lead to more clients. And so I started testing in between. Like let me just, again, making it super tactical. Let's say I would show up every day in a certain group. I would not do any sort of promotion or anything except maybe once a week. That would be it. And I would do one post and often it would be even a free offer where I would say, hey, I'm going to do a free 30-minute call with you, no strings attached. And it's 100% free. I'm going to give you amazing value. I'm going to help you identify the number one issue going on with your marketing campaign, for example. And then you're going to walk away with A, B, and C. Then I would say, hey, if it feels like a good fit and you want to learn more about how you can work with me further, I will share that. But if you don't, that's fine. You're going to walk away with this.
Okay, so wait. So you would identify somebody in a Facebook group who's having difficulty or struggling, and you would interact with them and say, hey, here's an idea. Maybe you should think about this. Mm-hmm. And then would you say, message me? Like, how would you be having this conversation?
Yeah, so I would let it be super natural. And I definitely don't recommend, just randomly messaging someone and starting that conversation that way. But I would have a conversation in the post if they were responding. And then at some point, if we had like maybe 2 or 3 back and forths and it felt like we were having a really great conversation, I would say, hey, I'm happy to talk more about this. Okay, if I message you. So I would ask for that permission.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. And again, make that person feel safe.
Exactly.
Cool. Okay. So then how many clients did you have? And then at what point did you think when did you then leave your job to do this full time? And then see if you can remember all of these questions. When did you say, wait a second, I could teach people how to leave their jobs and start their own businesses?
Yeah. Okay. So let me see if I remember the question. So to provide a little bit of background information before I go into this, it's really important to know before I started my digital advertising business, I had been trying to build my own online business for about 2 to 3 years. And so I had tested other things. I had done Microsoft Excel coaching. I had done career coaching. Again, just things that I had experience in and thought people would want to get help with. And so all of that led up to me making a lot of mistakes beforehand and figuring it out and being in a position where once I got this idea, this digital advertising consulting business idea, I was ready to take action and actually just make it work.
Okay, wait. First, sorry, I have to stop you, and now you're going to forget the questions. But what were the mistakes you made?
So many. So I mentioned for digital advertising consulting, I started out doing market research. I completely skipped that for Microsoft Excel, where I was thinking, hey, I see these people making 6-7 figures doing Microsoft Excel coaching. You know what? I'm really good at this. I do this a lot in my job. I'm just going to talk about smart shortcuts and people are just going to naturally want to buy from me. No, I had, no idea who my audience was, what they cared about, and just no clue what was going on. And so I would write articles. I would try and pitch guest posts to big publications that might be interested in this. I had no clue who I was talking to, so none of my content really landed.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, give me one more big mistake.
Yeah. So another really big mistake is when I started doing career coaching, I thought, okay, I'm going to set up a really gorgeous website and then people are going to find me, right? So I spent a lot of time on a website. nobody found me because there are, I don't even know, millions, billions of websites all over the internet, and you don't just randomly get traffic out of nowhere. And what I learned from that, I spent months working on that website and trying to make it really good. But how I got my first client was I thought, okay, let me try something different. There were people who were asking me at that time how I'd done certain things in my career, like, get a certain salary, get a certain promotion role, whatever. And I went back to them and said, hey, I know what I'm talking about. I've helped you before. We've talked about this a lot. Would you be interested in working with me in a coaching relationship to help you specifically hit these goals that you've shared with me before you really want to hit?
Okay.
And that's how I got my first client that way.
Got it. So again, it's that personal connection.
It really, I mean, yeah, there's a big theme here, and it's so true.
Okay, so now, all right, so and what I like about what you're saying is you could tell that you had this entrepreneurial spirit, and that even though things weren't necessarily clicking, you kept going.
Yes. And this is so important to note, because when I share, well, let me answer one of your questions, which is, how long was I doing this for my digital advertising consulting? From when I first got my first client to when I left my job, it happened really quickly. I made over 6 figures in sales in about 4 months.
Wow.
And that only happened because of the failures and lessons and everything I'd gone through over the previous 3 years. So it was like 3 years and 4 months, really.
Okay. And I like that, again, because everybody, and one thing I want to talk about is this idea that all you're going to do is you're going to make a course and you're going to launch it and you're going to make 7 figures. And I always say, do not believe this, that there is blood, sweat, and tears behind. Even if that person did launch a course magically and made 7 figures, you do not know the backstory.
Exactly. And you know what? You can get to that, sure, but don't assume it was just, nobody has I just, started out, did this, it was so easy, made a gazillion dollars. There's always more time, more work, more pain and rejection than it's possible to share in unless you've gone through it,
Absolutely. And I think that too, my audience has a lot of women. And I do think that we kind of we don't necessarily take those rejections in stride. And we get derailed.
Yes.
It didn't work. It's me. I did, it's all my fault. I did something wrong. And I really admire you for going, well, this didn't work. And I spent a ton of money on a website and a bunch of months building it. And, it's so pretty and nobody showed up. And that you said, okay, that didn't work. I'm going to go a different way.
Yes. And yeah, I'm really glad we're talking about this, because I have to say, I didn't start out with any advantages that anyone else doesn't have. In fact, I'm a huge introvert. So when I started, it was the hardest thing in the world for me to post on social media or talk to people I didn't know. I will say, I think the biggest advantage I had was the way I thought about failure and rejection, because my background, I actually studied engineering in college, and my first job was as an engineer for the space station. And that really taught me to really be analytical and logical about the way you think about things. And so I remember each time I got a rejection, hey, by the way, it hurt, right? I'm human. Sometimes I would take some weeks or months off and be like, I don't know if this is possible. But eventually my engineering training would kick in, and I would sit down and think, okay, what could I have improved? What caused this? All right, how can I tweak this next time? And really just analyzing all the different variables so that I kind of, as much as I could, humanly could, removed the emotion and the dejection from each failure and learned from it and used it to continue to improve.
Right. I agree. And and I like that you said, yes, you felt it. It wasn't like those rejections, that you're superhuman, but that you were able to put them in perspective and keep your eye on the prize.
Exactly.
Okay. So you now have built this business. So again, I like that, 3 years and 4 months, even though it took 4 months to scale your ad business. And then you said, okay, I'm ready to leave my job. I'm ready to do this full time.
Yes, I did.
And then you left your job, and then you started doing this full time.
Mm-hmm.
And then how did you get this idea to say, wait a second, if I could do this, I could teach other people how to do this?
So again, it wasn't so much like I came up with it as it was that people started asking me. I mean, I'm sure it had been in the back of my head, like because of all the things I had to go through and try, and there wasn't one comprehensive course or coach or mentor who had gone through it the way I had, having to build their business while in a job and replace a good income. I thought I know I was thinking in the back of my head, look, when I figure this out, I'm going to share it because nobody needs to go through all of the things I went through. And then what naturally happened was people started asking me, hey, how'd you do it? I got messages and just emails about people asking me. And I thought, oh, hey, well, there's this interest right now. Why don't I take on some private clients and see where this goes? And that's how it started. So it wasn't like a clear cut, hey, one day I decided, okay, I'm doing this. It was just people started asking me once again. And I said, why not?
I think what I say is to definitely in your business have a plan and hold it really lightly.
I love that.
Because if you hold it tight, you potentially miss those opportunities that potentially would derail you from your vision of what the future is going to look like. But those opportunities could ultimately be more lucrative or more satisfying, but you got to be open. So it's this balance between chasing the shiny new thing and sticking to to be able to say, nope, I'm not going to chase that because I know where I want to go, but also then recognize that might not be the direction you're going to go.
Yes. Exactly. Because you can't tell the future. Like you can set your best efforts path and then do your best to follow it. And then also there could be even greater, better opportunities that come along that you need to be flexible to be prepared for.
And especially when people start asking you questions.
Yes.
Unsolicited.
That's really how you know. And I mean, this happened by accident, but it taught me, look, the best business products, offers, ideas, they come from not me, like, oh, what do I want to do? Although, of course, it should be something you enjoy, right? But from what people are asking you for.
Absolutely. Imagine growing your Instagram followers with no work. Highly engaged followers. Now imagine it with Pinterest, Facebook, YouTube. How about new email subscribers? Seriously, no work. This is all possible if you install the MiloTree pop-up on your blog. David, my husband, and I started our blog, Catch My Party, in 2009. We've since grown it into the largest party ideas site on the web with millions of page views per month. We did it with hard work and our secret weapon, our MiloTree pop-up, which David built for us. We've grown our Pinterest followers to over 1.3 million. And our Instagram followers to over 164,000. And right now, 8,000 other bloggers just like you are using MiloTree to grow their businesses. With MiloTree, you can focus on growing one platform or switch between several. But here is the important thing. If you aren't converting your visitors into followers, subscribers, and customers, you're honestly wasting your own traffic. Make this asset, your visitors, work for you. Since we're bloggers, we get bloggers. So we've optimized MiloTree like crazy. It's a snap to install. It won't slow your site down. It's Google friendly on mobile. And it's so darn cute. You can even add animated sparkles to your pop-up if you like. Sign up now and get your first 30 days for free. Please pause this episode and head to milotree.com to sign up. I know you will thank me. As a bonus, once you sign up, I'm going to send you weekly actionable business tips to help you grow your business. I've been at this a long time and I have a lot to share. Remember, your scarcest resource is not money, it's time. So let MiloTree free up time for you so you can focus on the other important parts of your business. So what are you waiting for? Hit pause, head to MiloTree, and sign up today. Okay, so then people are coming up to you or people are messaging you and saying, how'd you do this? How'd you leave your 9 to 5? And you thought, I'm going to take on some clients and help them.
Exactly.
And then what?
So then so you know how each time you do something that you've done before, you just get faster and faster at it, right? And so, like I shared earlier, 3 years led into 4 months, and then this time it just continued happening faster because I knew the basics. And so I got some clients. I thought, you know what? I've worked with a good number of clients, and I'm ready to create a small group program. So I created my first group program.
And what does that mean, a group program?
Yeah, so it's a hybrid of a course and a coaching program. And so what that is you have course content, but really it's not just a self-study course. It's you also showing up, answering questions about the content, doing coaching calls, things like that.
So when you first started, how many people did you have?
In my first program?
First program.
Yeah, I ended up making 18 sales, which, by the way, was mind-blowing to me.
So you had your first cohort of 18 people.
Yes.
And what did it look like in the beginning?
It was, think about something that's perfect, the perfect course and setup, and then mine was the exact opposite of that.
So it was like a hot mess. A hot mess. So
Exactly.
you were making up as you went along.
Exactly. And I mean, it really actually worked. Again, just like things happen by accident the way they're supposed to. It really actually worked out because I didn't create the course in advance. I knew the content that was in my head and I knew what I was going to say, but I hadn't created the content. And so what that allowed me to do was each week I would, create the content as we went, and then I would see what people's questions were, what questions they had about what was coming up, and then I would fold that into the content that as I was creating it, so that what happened was people were like, oh my gosh, you read my mind, you answered my questions, how did you know this and that? And I mean, it was because they had basically told me, and I'd been able to create the first course or the best course the first time around through doing that.
Now, was this a program where it was like, hey, this is an 8-week program, or this is indefinite?
No, it was a 7-week program. I think it ended up being 8 or 9 weeks because I added on some bonus weeks just to give some people support. But it was very much open and closed.
And then did you have a Facebook group? Like, how did you structure it?
I did. So the way I structured it was exactly like you said. Everyone was in a Facebook group. I didn't have a course membership site or anything. I just uploaded the content, the audios, and I used Google Docs. I didn't even have fancy PDFs. I just uploaded it into the Facebook group each week.
Mm-hmm. And again, what that says is it's not about building out the beautiful stuff.
Exactly. Something I did that looking back made such a massive difference. I doubled down on connecting with my students in that program. So instead of saying, look, I need to, only provide so much support, or this is a group program and they're not paying me as much as my private coaching clients, so I need to be aware of that. I really said, I didn't think about it that way. Instead, I thought about what do I need to do to help people get the best results possible, independent of what that's going to mean for me work-wise. And so what ended up happening was I would tag or message people or email people who maybe were quiet for a few days. I would tag them to make sure, hey, have you seen this? You would find this super helpful. Have you done this? How are you doing? I would sometimes, when some people were struggling, I would hop on calls with them, which was definitely not part of the program, but I felt like it was what they needed. And because of that, nobody cared that, we didn't have perfect PDFs or a course membership site. In fact, I had such an amazing response because of the way I over-delivered and supported people in that program that we had an over 90% success rate. And I mean by that, people did the work and then went out there and got a first paying client, which was the big delivery of the program. And not only that, but this is the cool thing. It's just look, show me the numbers. So what happened was the original course launch with 18 sales, the course was about $400 to $500. So it brought in about 8,000 in sales. I delivered the heck out of it. After I feel like about 7-8 weeks, the people who had done the work, gotten amazing results, loved it so much, they asked to continue working with me in my private coaching. And through the people, the sales from just people in that cohort who wanted to continue working with me, that added in an additional $20,000 in sales. It's just people put their money where their mouth is, right? So it's just That's how you know, more than me just saying, oh, it was so good, that people loved it. Again, they didn't care that it wasn't a fancy PDF or course site. They loved what they got out of it and they wanted more.
I, I love that. Again, especially this idea that you didn't have your teachable course already figured out and you didn't hire a
Heck
designer to
no.
make your PDFs beautiful and that it was kind of down and dirty.
Exactly. Because look, at the end of the day, I mean, all of that is nice. And at a certain point in your business, sure, you should have that. However, what people really care about is not what we think as course creators they care about. Like it's more for us to feel good about, oh, I have this awesome, beautiful course and it's perfect, right? It's us. But people care about the value, the content, the support they're going to get way more than how perfect something is.
Right. And then, if in fact you've spent all this time and blood, sweat, and tears building out a beautiful course and nobody shows up, it goes back to that feeling
Oh
of
my
being
gosh.
demoralized. And, I am
Yes.
such a big believer in just being scrappy, like just good enough. And that hopefully, if you have your heart in it, you make up the difference.
Exactly.
Okay, so now you've done your first cohort has gone through your program. They've had tremendous success. Some of these people have turned into one-on-one clients. And then you think to yourself, I could build this out and teach more people, scale it. So how did you go about that?
Yeah, so I took that first program and I beefed it up a lot. I added a ton more content, turned it into a much larger 6-month group program.
Okay.
And then what I did was I used the same launch process I had used to sell out my first program. And at that point, I knew my numbers. I knew how many people I bring into my launch. I'll convert X percent. And so I scaled it. I went bigger. I brought in more people. I increased the price of my program. And I had a 6-figure launch.
Now tell me, now again, you knew Facebook ads. So how
Mhm.
did you bring people in? How did you figure out, okay, this is my conversion rate and this is how many people I need to come to my website or whatever? How did you cultivate those sales?
Yes. Okay. So what I did was, again, all of this happened a little bit by accident, where I just stumbled upon the launch strategy for courses that I have used over the last 4 to 5 years and now teach my own students. And what it was, there's the traditional do an email series or do a video series or webinar series. And for me, all of those just felt really like standoffish and required a degree of investment, like to get videos and things that I didn't feel were necessary for me where I was at the time. And so, I mean, think about it. For my first course, I wasn't going to spend a few thousand on a series of videos when I didn't even know if I would make any sales. And so what I did, this was around the time when Periscope was super new and the hot thing, and everyone was loving it. And I'd been doing Periscope and getting private coaching clients through that. People who would see me on Periscope and say, hey, I connected with what you said. I loved your energy. I want to hire you. So I thought, you know what? This is working well for me. Why don't I do more of this to sell my program? And so what I did was I did a series of 5 Periscope videos over about 5 to 7 days. I I basically positioned it as a challenge. And this was again quite a few years ago before challenges were, the rage. And so I said, okay, every day I'm going to give you one prompt for you to do. And then it's going to be easy. You're going to love it. And then I'm going to talk more about it on my live stream on Periscope. I'm going to answer your questions. I'm going to talk to you personally. And we're going to outside of that be in this Facebook group, also interacting, answering any other questions you have. So really just like creating this environment that had so much communication between me and everyone. And so I would do that. I would talk about my program during those days leading up to a challenge finale, which was basically a webinar that wrapped up everything we talked about in the challenge, summarized it, and then opened enrollment for my program. And this worked so well my first time around. It drove 18 sales that I thought, okay, I know if I have this many people, I'm going to convert. I believe back then it was like I don't remember the exact number, but it was a ridiculously high conversion rate because of how much personal interaction I had with people, where people were saying, hey, I've never had this before, where someone selling a course is actually talking to me right now versus making me watch their video series or talk to their customer support. And so I did that. I believe I had like a maybe, okay, this is going to be a really wide range, 5 to 10% conversion rate. Yeah, it was
That's
really
incredible.
high. Yeah,
Yes.
it was crazy looking back. I didn't know how good it was back then. But I did that. And so I said, okay, if I have this conversion rate, and I just like to aim for nice numbers, really. It sounds trivial, but in my mind it's like, okay, it just works out. So had a close to 10K first launch. All right, why don't I aim for 100K? And so I said, all right, if I get this many people, and I believe it was like maybe 2,000 or so, I had reverse engineered into based on my existing audience at the time and how many new people I needed to get through my challenge and that conversion rate, that I would need to make about 30 sales to get a 100K launch for my 6-month program, because the price point was about $3,000. And so what I did was I took the same challenge, I made it even better, like made it longer, did my live streams even better, showed up even more in the Facebook group, and I drove the people I needed into my challenge through Facebook ads to sign up so that I could hit my numbers and have my launch. And basically that's exactly what happened.
That's a great story. That's a great story. How many years ago was this?
I think this was about 4 to 5 years ago.
Okay. And since then, you have now continued to fine tune it, continued to build it, continued to build out your systems and that kind of thing.
Exactly. I remember when I had my first really big launch, again, using the same process, my next launch after that 6-figure launch, I did about $800,000 in sales. So a big jump.
Wow.
And I remember at the time, a mentor said to me, hey, this is amazing. It's hard to do this. However, what's even harder? Being able to do it consistently year after year. And so I really took that to heart and thought, okay, so I need to figure out how to make this really sustainable and consistent and systematized. And so like you said, I continue to improve it, make my content better. I myself, just through coaching more and more students and people, became a better coach. I got more experience. I worked with people in more industries. So I had more and more and more to share with my students. And so through doing that every year since then, using the same core strategy over the last 4 to 5 years, we've consistently done launches once a year, one launch a year that has driven around that amount without any affiliates, just my audience, running paid advertising and me.
Wow. And then okay, first of all, before you started any of this and you were still I'm jumping back.
Yeah.
Did you take courses?
Yes. So remember the 3 to 4 years, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, it was just a good amount of time that I spent testing and failing everything. I feel like I took so many courses. And then, once I started seeing some traction, I hired coaches as well. I was all in. I was like, I don't care what I need to learn. If I need to learn how to do copywriting, how to do sales calls, I'm going to learn it. So I took everything under the sun.
And was that helpful?
I would say yes and no. Yes, in that bit by bit, I pieced together everything I needed. And so I'm really grateful for every single course because it gave me some idea or aha of what I needed. So for example, even the first course I ever took, while I didn't end up using the strategies it recommended, I'm grateful to it because it helped me realize, oh, this is something that you can do. Like you can build a business outside and make an income outside of working a 9 to 5. So like that realization alone was worth the investment in the course. And so each course had different ahas that I took from it. Same thing for the different coaches and mentors I worked with. So I'm incredibly grateful to every single investment I made. The reason why I kind of say no is because it was kind of heartbreaking for me to invest in course and coach after coach and basically just get one piece of the puzzle, right? To basically invest in a coach who could help help me like work on my sales calls. That would be great. But then what about everything else with building a business? You don't even know what you don't know. I remember like one of the first courses I invested in, it taught you how to do copywriting, and it claimed to be all comprehensive. But then I realized, wait, I didn't even realize until later on I needed to do sales calls. And then I had to figure out, okay, how do you do a sales call? And so it was just like piecing it together, but in a way that I started out not even knowing what I didn't know. And so that's part of what took so long and was the part of the ups and downs of the journey. But again, each time I made an investment, I thought, okay, well, then what is the big thing, one thing I'm going to get away from this that is going to make it worth the investment?
Got it. Now, you say that you recommend people focus on one product.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So something I see a lot with the people I work with, the audience I work with, is maybe they've seen other people who are more established do it, where they want to sell everything under the sun. Okay, I want to have my coaching offer. I want to have a cheaper coaching offer. I want to have a 3, a 6-month, a 12-month. I want to have this small course. I want to have a signature course. And what a lot of people don't realize is the work that goes into not only creating each of these offers, but also understanding how to market and sell to them, not to mention building the brand recognition for the product and the testimonials. Each time you sell something new, you have to go through that entire process over and over again. Whereas, especially when you're starting out, especially if you're using a coaching type business model, which is what I recommend to go from employee to entrepreneur, where you're selling a package for, let's say, anywhere basically over $1,000, whatever that looks like, although there's a wide range. To make like $5,000 a month, you need to make 5 sales, right? To make X amount, you need to make X sales. And so it really becomes one focus. Hey, focus on selling this product. The only thing you have to do, because once you've created it, worked with your first few clients, is continue finding or building your audience of people who would be a good fit for that product. So that what happens is, instead of having to work on product development, operations, customer support, new systems, acquisition, marketing, sales, all of those things that are included in selling each product, you get to nail one piece down. You get to focus on growing your audience, growing traffic, and driving those sales so that you're able to get faster to your end goal of getting to a certain revenue where you can leave your job. And then after that, right, after you've used that time also to build your own street cred online, where you've used that to learn more about marketing, sales, copywriting, all the things that you need to, great. Down the road, have fun, build new products, but don't do it too early just because you think that's what you're supposed to do or that's how you make more revenue.
I get that. I totally get that. And I agree with that, which is you're learning. And so you can spend that learning fine-tuning what's already working, or go off and build something new that's untested.
Exactly.
So I couldn't agree with that strategy more. Okay, so now as you've built out your business, what does your team look like today, when before you were doing everything?
Yes, I did everything for quite a while, but at this point, thankfully, that's not the case. And so even to this day, I don't have any full-time employees except for myself. I do have contractors who work decent hours, but I've been very careful to build my business in this way. And so what that looks like is, and I have to give credit to Gino Wickman's book, Traction, for really kind of first, when I read this a few years ago, it kind of gave me an aha for how to organize your business, like a business like this, where you're not looking to build a big corporation, you're looking to do great stuff, but also create more flexibility and freedom in your own life, where he recommends having really separate accountability, an accountability chart, basically, where it's very clear what each person is doing and what they themselves are responsible for, instead of thinking about it as like an org chart. This person's reporting to that person. And so I used that, I like what he said, and organized my business around the functions. So we've got marketing. Under marketing, I've got organic content, so content creation, social media management, paid acquisition. I put design under marketing as well. And each of these contractors, they know exactly what it is they need to do. They operate on their own without needing to depend or report to anybody, and we have very clear metrics for what needs to be done, what are the metrics for success, what are not good metrics, and really keep it like that. So I have that. I also have a sales function, which at this point is just one or two salespeople who do sales calls for my higher end coaching program. I have operations and tech, which is basically any tech support and customer support. I group that into the same kind of function. And then I have coaching. So I coach a handful of students. When I run my programs live, I bring on program coaches as well. So we have those. And then, of course, I have the, bookkeeper, accountant,
Right.
finance departments. I'm sure I'm missing one or two, but that's the like major segments of what my team looks like and how it's run and who's on it.
Got it. And I take it you built it organically.
Yes, very much so.
Cool. Okay. So if somebody wants to leave their 9 to 5 and go on this journey, what would you tell them as a next step?
So if you're just starting out, you want to do this, this is what I would say. Number one, figure out your offer. Right. And the key here is it can't just be any type of offer. I mean, anything is possible, but if you're looking for the most efficient, effective way to build a business that replaces your income and to do it while you're also working a job, the best business model is to do some sort of premium coaching or consulting, right? And taking your job skills, your current skills, your experiences, and turning that into a package that someone is willing to pay $1,000 or more for. And the reason for that is because then you can work with a handful of clients to be able to replace your income versus like if you're selling a $100 or $500 course, you have to sell so many of those to be able to replace your income every single month. So to first identify what that offer is, and then once you do, to be really, really focused on one thing, at least in the beginning, going out there and connecting with potential clients. And so that doesn't mean spend months creating a fancy website or email funnel or running ads right off the bat if you don't know what you're doing. Instead, it means, look, figure out where are your clients hanging out online. For me at the time, it was Facebook groups. Facebook groups are still a great way to connect with potential clients. I have students use them all the time. Or is it Instagram or LinkedIn or an industry specific forum? Whatever that looks like, find a handful of those, then literally mark on your calendar, okay, the 3x15 rule we talked about earlier. Every single day for the next 4 to 6 weeks, I'm going to be in these places 3 times a day, answering questions, sharing valuable information that my audience would be interested in, and engaging with people. Do that, right? And of course, if it's after, I would say about maybe 2 or 3 weeks of this, where you've started, people have started recognizing your name and have seen your content, right? You can start offering free coaching calls, where they're what I mentioned earlier, a free 30-minute coaching call where you share exactly what someone is going to take away from this. You tell them, yeah, you're going to get it for free. It's going to be incredibly valuable. And if at the end of it, you want to learn more about how I can help you further, we'll talk about it. If not, no worries. You're going to still get something amazingly valuable. Lead with that and use that to start connecting with even more people and start getting your offer out there. And as a side note, always benchmarks. And so what I usually see is when you're starting out, if you do about 10 of these free coaching calls, you can expect to get 1 or 2 clients. And so that metric will improve as you get better at your skills and you become better known, but that's a good starting benchmark. Okay, anyways, so back to focusing on that and then consistently doing that until you've gotten 3, 4, 5 clients, around 3 to 5. That's going to give you enough to have a good amount of revenue in your business. That's going to give you enough to start helping people at getting results, which means you get testimonials. You're going to work through your coaching process. Even though you already know what it is, it's a different learning process to figure out how to help people. And then use that time, use the revenue you've made to start setting up your website, which also means because now you know how to speak to your audience, you can create a better website with better copy because you actually know what people want. Do that, set up a really basic email funnel that invites people to hop on a sales call with you, add in the content that you found through testing that people connect with, add in the client testimonials that you're now starting to get. Do that, have that system really simple set up, and then move into, again, same type of thing, but more longer term, getting in front of potential audiences. What does that look like? Maybe sharing your story on podcasts, maybe sharing your content on other publications and writing for them, maybe doing partnerships with people who have an audience of people that would be your potential ideal clients, but who don't directly compete with what you do. So there's a complementary partnership there. And doing that and driving them back to your website and this really simple email funnel that you've built. It sounds simple, but this is basically, I just really condensed the process of what I did to cross 6 figures in a few months. And it's really about doing a few things that actually matter versus trying to do everything under the sun, because that doesn't move the needle.
And I would say that the thing that keeps coming out in what you're saying is make real connections.
Yes.
That you're going to have no business with a beautiful website and no connections.
No,
but you can have a business with connections and no website.
Exactly. And something I really want to emphasize, I love that we're talking about this, is for in the very beginning, before I realized this, I spent months hiding behind my website, writing beautiful emails. Well, I thought they were beautiful. Looking back, they weren't that good, but I didn't know that at the time. And just pouring my heart into writing content that no one ever saw because I wasn't doing the things that mattered. And so it just goes back to show, look, you can start out, you don't have to be the best copywriter, marketer, salesperson. If you are leading with that value, that connection, letting your natural expertise come through, that's going to be infinitely more powerful than pretty much anything else you can do.
I love that. I love that. Okay, Louisa, if people want to reach out to you, connect with you, if they have questions or learn about your course, tell them how to do that. What are the best ways?
Yes. So there are a few really great ways. The first way to get started and really get some great information is this PDF I have, which, as a side note, it's called the Escape Velocity Blueprint. And it's just a fun throwback to my days as a station engineer, because escape velocity is the speed you need to go at to break free from Earth's gravity. And so it's a play on, hey, how do you build momentum to get to a certain point in your business where you can break free of the gravity of your 9-to-5. So really great high-level blueprint, as well as the top 3 mistakes to avoid when you are starting out that I see new aspiring entrepreneurs make all the time. And so you can get that PDF for free at luisazhou.com/gift.
Okay, you have to spell that. Wait, you have to spell that.
Yes, exactly. I was going to say, my name is spelled not how it sounds. It's LUISA, Z as in zebra, HOU.com/GIFT, gift. So that's a really great way. Once you sign up, get that PDF, you're going to get awesome emails. You're going to be on my email list. You're going to be connected with me for as long as you want to be on my email list and get my awesome emails. You can check out my website. I have so many great articles on my blog. Again, same URL, luisazhou.com. And then the best social media platform to connect with me on is Instagram, at least for right now. I'm loving it. I'm loving checking as many of my DMs as possible. And my handle is very similar, easy to remember. It's Louisa.Zhou. So first name dot last name, and that's on Instagram.
Oh, well, Louisa, thank you. This has been so enlightening, and what I would say is doable.
Yes.
Doable.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. Yes. You know what? It's not, I always say this, it's not easy because you have to do the work, you have to overcome the obstacles, but it doesn't have to be complicated. Right? So
right.
I love that was your big takeaway from everything we talked about.
Absolutely. So I have to say, thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for having me here.
I found Louisa's story really inspiring. And it speaks to this idea that building businesses is not linear. Meaning, you come up with a hypothesis, you put it out there, you see how people respond to it, and then you course correct. And building a business is all about course correcting. For those of you who have not yet started your business, please let David and me help you. So in 2 days, we will get you set up with a WordPress.org site. We will help you register your domain, get hosting, we'll optimize it, and really we will get you started on the right foot. Plus, we are here to answer any questions that you have. Head to MiloTree.com/blogstart. So MiloTree/blogstart. And you can read all about it. If you've got questions, please email me at Jillian@MiloTree.com. And I will be here again next week.